Have you ever wondered what lies beneath the grandeur of ancient Egypt? A civilization known for its magnificent pyramids, striking temples, and rich culture, ancient Egypt has long captivated the world with its allure. But beneath this gleaming surface lie countless lesser-known dark secrets waiting to be uncovered. Our purpose today is to shed light on some of these hidden mysteries of ancient Egypt. We'll delve into intriguing aspects that often get overshadowed by the more celebrated facets of this civilization. From the eerie pharaoh's curses to the peculiar mummification rituals, the unsettling practices of human sacrifices, to their primitive medical procedures, and the stark social inequality that prevailed, we'll take a journey through the shadowy corners of this ancient civilization. Let's begin with the pharaoh's curses. An enduring belief surrounds the tombs of the pharaohs, suggesting that those who dare to open these sacred resting places will befall a curse. A string of unfortunate incidents, even deaths, have been linked to this curse, adding an element of dread to the already mysterious aura of the pharaohs. Moving on, we'll explore the mummification rituals. The ancient Egyptians had a unique approach to death and the afterlife, and their process of mummification to preserve the bodies of the deceased is considered quite bizarre and even repugnant by today's standards. We'll also delve into the gruesome evidence suggesting that ancient Egyptians offered human sacrifices to appease their gods. These sacrifices were often chosen from slaves or prisoners of war, a chilling testament to the harsh realities of life in those times. Next, we'll examine their medical practices, which were significantly primitive and perilous by modern expectations. The use of magic and spells to cure diseases was prevalent, a stark contrast to our understanding of medicine today. Finally, we'll address the stark social inequality that was rife in ancient Egyptian society. The pharaohs and nobles lived lives of privilege and luxury, far removed from the harsh realities faced by the slaves and the poor. Now let's dive deep into the hidden aspects of this ancient civilization. First, we delve into the mysterious realm of the pharaoh's curses. Now, let's venture into the shadowy world of the ancient Egyptians, where the concept of curses held a powerful sway over the minds of the people. A curse in the context of ancient Egypt was believed to be a potent force that could bring about misfortune or death upon those who dared to disturb the sacred resting places of the pharaohs. This belief emanated from the reverence and fear that the ancient Egyptians had for their rulers, who they considered as godlike beings. It was thought that disturbing the pharaoh's eternal slumber would incur their wrath and result in a curse. This curse was not a simple matter of superstition, but a deeply embedded cultural belief that carried severe implications. Throughout history, there have been numerous anecdotes of deaths and misfortunes associated with the pharaoh's curses. One of the most famous cases is that of the archaeologist Howard Carter, who discovered the tomb of Tutankhamun in the early 20th century. Several members of his team met untimely deaths, leading many to believe that they had fallen prey to the pharaoh's curse. While some dismiss these incidents as mere coincidences, others attribute them to the presence of ancient bacteria or toxic substances in the tombs. Yet the belief in the curse persists, and these stories continue to captivate and terrify us to this day. The power of the pharaoh's curse lies not just in the fear of death or misfortune, but also in the respect for the sanctity of the pharaoh's resting place. It serves as a stark reminder of the reverence that the ancient Egyptians had for their rulers and the lengths that they would go to protect their sacred spaces. So, next time you think about exploring a pharaoh's tomb, remember the curse that might befall you, whether you believe in the supernatural or not. The tale of the pharaoh's curse is a fascinating glimpse into the beliefs and customs of a civilization that continues to intrigue us millennia after its downfall. Have you ever wondered about the strange and gruesome process of mummification? The ancient Egyptians had a unique approach to death, viewing it as a transition into a new form of existence. Central to this belief was the practice of mummification, a meticulous and lengthy process that aimed to preserve the body for the afterlife. Firstly, the body was cleansed and purified. The internal organs were then removed, each carefully stored in special jars known as canopic jars, except for the heart, which was often left in place. The brain, considered unimportant, was discarded. After this, the body was dehydrated using a type of salt called natron, resulting in a dried, shrunken form. The next step was the wrapping of the body. The Egyptians used strips of linen, carefully wrapping each limb before moving onto the torso and head. Amulets and charms were often placed within the wrappings as protective measures for the journey into the afterlife. Once the wrapping was completed, a portrait mask of the deceased was placed over the head and shoulders. This mask was often made of cartonnage, a material similar to papier-mâché, and painted with the likeness of the deceased. The mummy was then placed in a coffin or a series of nested coffins and prepared for burial. To us, this ritual might seem bizarre and even a little macabre. The thought of removing and preserving organs, desiccating the body, and then wrapping it in linen is far removed from our modern burial practices. Yet for the ancient Egyptians, mummification was a sacred ritual, steeped in religious beliefs and cultural traditions. It was a way of honoring the dead and ensuring their successful passage to the afterlife. Indeed, mummification was a significant yet macabre aspect of ancient Egyptian culture. This fascinating process gives us a unique insight into their beliefs about death and the afterlife, and how they navigated the boundary between life and death. Now let's uncover the chilling practice of human sacrifices. In the grand tapestry of ancient Egypt's history, one thread weaves a particularly haunting narrative: the practice of human sacrifices. While it's a topic shrouded in much mystery and debate, evidence suggests that this was indeed a part of their religious rituals. You see, the ancient Egyptians had a complex pantheon of gods, each requiring their own unique form of veneration. And in some cases, it appears that the ultimate display of devotion was through the offering of human life. This act was believed to appease the gods, securing their favor and avoiding their wrath. The victims of these sacrifices were usually those on the fringe of society, individuals whose lives were deemed expendable. Slaves were a common choice, their lives offered up in the name of divine appeasement. War captives, too, found themselves at the mercy of this grim practice. Stripped of their freedom, they were forced to pay the ultimate price in a land not their own. But why resort to such a brutal practice? Well, the ancient Egyptians held a profound belief in the afterlife. They saw death not as an end, but a transition to another realm. In this context, human sacrifices could be seen as a way of sending servants or even companions to accompany the pharaohs or the gods in their eternal journey. However, it's crucial to note that human sacrifices were not an everyday occurrence. They were infrequent, reserved for special occasions or dire circumstances. Over time, the practice dwindled, replaced by symbolic rituals and animal sacrifices. Still, the very existence of this practice serves as a stark reminder of the lengths the ancient Egyptians were willing to go in their quest for divine satisfaction. It's a chilling testament to the power religion wielded over society, shaping behaviors and norms, even justifying the taking of human life. The practice of human sacrifices certainly adds a dark shade to the colorful canvas of ancient Egypt. Finally, we turn our attention to the primitive medical practices and stark social inequality of ancient Egypt. The medical practices of this civilization, grand as it may seem, were not as advanced as we might imagine. They were, in fact, often dangerous and life-threatening. Illnesses were treated not with scientifically proven methods, but with a blend of magic, spells, and rudimentary surgical techniques. Imagine having a toothache, and instead of a simple extraction or filling, you're subjected to a spell intended to ward off the evil spirits causing your pain. In addition to these perilous medical practices, ancient Egypt was also riddled with social inequality. The pharaoh, the absolute monarch of Egypt, and the nobles lived a life of unimaginable luxury and privilege. They had access to the best food, lived in grand palaces, and even in death, they were honored with elaborate tombs and mummification rituals. On the other end of the spectrum, the life of the common people, particularly the slaves and the poor, was marked by hardship and toil. Slaves were often used in large-scale construction projects like the pyramids that we so admire today. They lived in harsh conditions with little to no access to basic amenities. The poor, although not enslaved, also had a challenging existence, working long hours in fields and workshops just to make ends meet. This stark contrast in living conditions highlights the social disparity that was prevalent in ancient Egypt. It serves as a stark reminder that behind the grandeur and the glory of the pyramids, there was also a society deeply divided by class and wealth. And with that, we conclude our journey into the dark secrets of ancient Egypt. It's a reminder that every civilization, no matter how grand, has its own set of skeletons in the closet.